Welcome to the land of the Nacirema. You have all probably figured out that Nacirema is American spelled backwards. Horace Minor wrote Body Ritual Among the Nacirema back in 1956 as a satire. He saw that anthropologists tended to exoticize other cultures and wanted us, anthropologists, to take a step back and see how other cultures were just as normal as we felt we were. This article is sort of a double whammy for you all, because not only does Minor's description of American life as strange practices and beliefs come into play, but because time itself has created a chasm of sorts between the practice of life in the 20th century and now. Many of the things that Minor describes, things I grew up with, are no longer found outside of museums or your grandparents' attics. But you have to admit, we still tend to see medicine and other aspects of this article exactly as described. Why do I have you read this? Because it's a great lesson in thinking about how we think about things. The article itself is guilty about some of the things that it's trying to point out. For instance, Minor places the highly developed Nacirema as living between two different indigenous groups, inferring that they are somehow less developed and thereby exoticizing them. However, he points out how our practices and the belief those practices illustrate can be seen as magical. An anthropologist named Jason Antrosio, in a blog in the Living Anthropologically site titled Body Ritual Among the Nacirema, Classic Anthropology, points out how during COVID, the amount of disbelief and mistrust of science with a concomitant use of various unproven remedies illustrates that magical thinking is still relevant to our views of our bodies and ourselves. You also read an article by Lord Acton. Not an article so much, it's a copy of his inaugural address. And I had you read it for this reason as well. Lord Acton's language is very old-fashioned, but it is great advice for looking at how facts and events and beliefs are presented to you. As you go through this class, I ask you to keep Lord Acton's advice and the lessons from the Nacirema in mind. You are going to be reading articles and books that may present history from a perspective that's very foreign to what you've been exposed to so far. You may learn things that are the opposite of what you learned growing up. Before you categorically deny those representations about events and facts, I want you to ask yourself why our system taught you what it taught you, and why you didn't learn about the rest of it. The authors you're going to be reading are all academically sound. They work with primary sources. They present that material to you. I don't expect you to toe any particular political line. I use what I call, quote, dad's role, unquote. My father always told me that he did not expect me to agree with him on anything, probably because I usually didn't. But whether I agreed or disagreed, I had to be able to explain my position and to support my position. And I couldn't support it with because somebody else said so. Hopefully, when you finish with this class, you'll have further developed your own ability to look at events, discern the facts, and then be able to articulate your understanding and opinion about them. I'll be looking to see you using reasoning for your opinions. I want you to be able to support your opinions, regardless of what your opinion is. Have fun with this, and as always, please remember to ask if you have questions, and please feel free to share your supported point of view with me. Have fun.